make a push for their conference titles. Michael Drapcho joins me now. And Michael, the Jackson Ironmen and Meigs Marauders are no exception.
As you mentioned, Justin, both of these teams are in the hunt for their conference titles, and even though this wasn't a conference game, it still had some huge implications because they were trying to get some momentum going towards the end of the season. Now, Meigs coming up, knowing that they have to regroup from their loss to Athens last week, but it didn't start well for them. Johnny Farley takes the handoff 70 yards. That made it 7-0 in favor of Jackson. The Ironmen were just killing the Meigs defense tonight on the ground, running all over them. Austin Leach on the next possession for Jackson takes a jet sweep, picks up 10 yards in the first down, and I think you're going to see a little bit more Leach on the next play. Hunter Sexton going deep, and he just drops a dime to Leach for the 31-yard touchdown pass. That made it 13-0 in favor of Jackson. And this was the kind of night for Meigs. Hunter Sexton on 4th and 3 takes off, picks up 23 yards, fumbles, but Meigs still can't recover the fumble, so Jackson's still in business. Hunter Sexton later in the drive from the 35-yard line can't be stopped, takes it into the end zone. That made it 19-0 Jackson, and Meigs finally showing some life at the end of the first half with Cody Bartram going deep to Colton Lilly for a 56-yard pass. Lilly gets dragged down deep inside Jackson territory, and Meigs scored 2 plays later, but all for naught because Jackson went on to win 47-6 tonight.
So, Michael, it seemed like Jackson was unstoppable. What was working for them tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm tempted to say just about everything. It was a chippy, physical game tonight, and that seemed to play into Jackson's hands, especially with how physical the Ironmen are in their running game. You know, the running game was what was really key for Jackson tonight, and their offensive line clearly won the battle up front. It didn't make a difference who was carrying the ball for Jackson because they were running through some huge holes. A lot of times, Jackson runners weren't even touched until they reached the secondary. The Marauders just had no answer on defense tonight. Colin Massey, Johnny Farley, and Blake McCoy combined for 340 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And as a team, the Ironmen rushed for 550 yards.
Wow, so 550 yards. So if everything was working for Jackson tonight, it's probably safe to say that nothing was working for Meigs.
Yeah, that's pretty fair, Justin. With the exception of their last drive to end the first half, they just couldn't get anything going. I mentioned that Jackson won the battle of the trenches on offense, but they won it on defense tonight too. Meigs only had 57 rushing yards in the entire game, and like the Jackson runners were getting to the second level of the defense, Meigs runners were getting hit within 1 or 2 yards of the line of scrimmage on every run. You have to give credit to this Jackson defense because it absolutely swarmed Meigs ball carriers.
So this is clearly a big win for Jackson and a big loss for Meigs. Where do these two teams go from here?
Well, for Jackson, this gives them some serious momentum heading down the stretch. This marks 2 straight big wins for the Ironmen, and they are peaking at the right time. And for Meigs, they'll have to regroup next week against Wilson. But their saving grace for this game, though, it wasn't a conference game, so they didn't lose any ground in the TVC Ohio race.
So 2 big wins back-to-back, like you said. Thanks for the great work, Michael. Now, last year, the